Hey everyone, it's MJ Fun Vlogs. I know I said I was going to do certain videos about certain things. I decided in this video I'm going to talk about what happened with me and my mom when I got into her apartment. And also I'm trying to figure out the lighting because we only have one light in this room. And I think we need some extra lighting in here because right now it's just going to show really dark and whatever. But anyway, if you've seen the first two videos, then this next video, probably like the third video to follow up on. But anyway, I ended it with being having my friend doing a Greyhound ticket and whatever, me going to Corpus to get back home. So that took like 2 days to get back home. I ended up staying at his place or his friend's place for like two nights, and then I left and I went to my mom's house. So she at least had 2 or 3 days extra to tell her landlord, like, hey, this is the situation, blah, 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 blah. So, I go in there, I talk to the property manager because they deal with all their stuff in, like, Chicago or something like that. They get funded by the state. I forgot what it's called, but anyway, I don't remember the name, but I kind of wish I remembered the name. Then it would make sense why everything was going on. But anyway, we talked to this property manager that was taking care of this whole property, and she was new, and my mom lived there before. And all that. So she ended up moving back in anyway. And she was already set up and what have you. And we talked to this lady and she had me do paperwork and stuff like that. And she was asking questions like, did I have a job yet? And whatever. I said, no, I just came back. She's like, okay, that's fine. And, the paperwork was easy. Well, the thing is, she kind of failed on telling me that she has to mail the papers to Chicago, and they have to approve those papers in Chicago. I did not know that until later. But anyway, this lady made it all hunky-dory, said, I did the right things, I gave her the papers. And another thing, there was a paper that my bank was supposed to sign. It did get signed, but it has to be faxed back to the property manager, which I did not know that, I didn't know that until later on into this story. So, anyway, I was living with my mom like several months because I was told I was the okay staying there. There was nothing wrong, nothing wrong going on. This lady was trying to make the place look a lot better because there was a lot of improvement that needed to be done, and this lady was getting it done, which was good. She was trying to make sure there was activities for the people. Now, this place used to be like a senior living center. Now they changed it where anybody can live there. It was only a 1-bedroom, and utilities were included and what have you, but you're having to pay like over $500 a month, which that's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, anyway, I was living there for months, and then me and my boyfriend, well, we did split up, but we ended up getting back together. I was starting to work, I was doing all this stuff, I was saving money so he can move up here, because he was still living in the church, doing all that, working for Rev. transcripts, whatever, and he was telling me, well, you need to talk to who's ever in charge. And I said, well, right now I'm working a lot and, trying to take care of my mom as well. And he's like, okay, well, let me call them and see what's going on. Like how fast me and you can get into the apartment, because it can only be 1 to 2 people in a 1-bedroom apartment. But that's probably like every other place too. So he calls this lady and they have a conversation. And all of a sudden he's telling me, you need to call this lady named so-and-so. I don't remember her name. Yeah, I don't remember her name. But he's like, well, you need to call this lady and you need to talk to her, like right now, because something is going on and you need to, you and her need to figure it out. So I call this lady. I said, yeah, I'm such and such and I live with my mom and at this apartment, at this address, da 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 da. And she's like, okay. She's like, you're not on the lease. I'm like, what do you mean I'm not on the lease? I should be a secondary on the lease. And she's like, no, there's no secondary for her lease. You're not on her lease. You shouldn't even be there. I said, what do you mean? Because this lady named so-and-so, the property manager, and here's another thing too. Before I talked to this lady in Chicago, the lady that was a property manager, either she got fired or she left, because we were trying to get a hold of her, trying to go downstairs, calling the office. There would be nobody in the office for like 2 weeks before she was supposed to leave. There was a note posted on what day was this, her last day being there. And she was gone for like the last week or the last 2 weeks. Nothing. Nobody was there. She just was gone. We don't know what happened. They're not even going to tell us. And I'm like, okay, whatever. And I said, well, Miss So-and-so gave me papers and did a background check because I gave her money. Yeah, I gave this property manager that was there, I gave her $20 for a background check, because that's what she told me, that's how much it was. And I told this lady in Chicago, I said, okay, well, how come you're telling me I'm not on the lease, but yet I gave this lady $20? And what'd she do with that money? It was supposed to be for a background check. And this lady's like, well, I don't know what she did with it. Well, she's telling me it was for a background check. And I said, I even have papers. And this lady's like, well, you need to have papers that you have a lease there, because we only have your mother's lease. We don't have yours. You're not on the secondary person on there. And they were asking me, well, did you move the same day that she moved in? I said, no. And they're like, well, that's why, because we don't allow that. And I said, well, it's not my fault, because this lady didn't tell me nothing. And then this lady's telling me, well, you also need a bank statement and stuff on how much you have in there, because since you're working now, because then after I signed the lease, I ended up working like 2 days later at the place that I'm working at now. So, that all happened, and, so this lady in Chicago told me, well, there's going to be another lady coming in named whatever you want to call her, Miss M, because that's the only girl that I remember her name. I know the other girl too, but she's no longer relevant. As the story goes on, they're going to keep saying this girl isn't relevant. But Miss M, I talked to her and she's like, well, we looked through all your files. And she's like, well, I did it today and you don't have any paperwork. The only paperwork I have is an uncompleted one that was supposed to be mailed out and never got sent out to us, because this lady that was a property manager is not to approve your paperwork. We up in Chicago are supposed to approve your paperwork. So it's like, okay, well, nobody told me this. So basically, under your noses, I've been living here for months. And this lady, Miss M, was very threatening to us, threatening to my mom. She was threatening my mom that she was going to kick her out. How are you going to sit there and threaten a senior citizen that you're going to kick them out when they are mentally and physically can't deal with the stress? Literally. And you're just going to sit there and say all that. And then she's going to say, well, aren't you the daughter that your mom had to move out from the other place and whatever and cause grief and stuff? And she's pinning all this other stuff that happened before, after she moved out of the place that she's at now. She's blaming, I'm like sitting here, we're not even talking about that. We're talking about what's going on. And I said, well, Miss So-and-so that was here, well, she doesn't know. She doesn't work for us anymore. She's no longer here. She's irrelevant. Well, we're looking at the stuff that's going on now, and I'm like, well, do your job then. Because now you have a person that's here that ain't supposed to be here. You're sitting there threatening us, telling us you're going to get the cops, you're going to give my mom an eviction notice. And actually, she didn't. She told me and my mother in both of our faces and said, well, if your daughter does not leave today or by next Tuesday, because that's how it was, because this lady wasn't supposed to be back until next Tuesday. And she expected me to do a lease and everything on my own, which I took the paperwork. I still have the paperwork too. And none of those papers really explain anything, that the reason why I was being there with my mom to begin with. Because I was trying to help her. So it's like, whatever. But then that's what was going on. She basically said, well, I'm going to have to evict you if your daughter doesn't leave today. You have to have an eviction notice and you have to get the police to be there to get the stuff and what have you. You can't just sit there and verbally evict somebody. And you're going through state stuff and whatever. You can't just tell somebody, well, we have to evict you. You can't evict nobody. My mom's still living there. And I just don't like the way that this lady treated my mom. And the funny thing is, they were looking through papers. The lady from Chicago and this lady, Miss M, were looking through papers one night, real late at night, 7, 8 o'clock at night. And I watched them. They didn't see me. I could see them through the, I was down the hall and I could see through one window to another, and I saw 2 ladies in there. They were looking through all the files. And they didn't even see. How are you going to look through the files and not see my information? You would have given my mom a phone call that next day asking, is your daughter living with you? Because if she is, she can't. You know. So I know they were lying too about something. I'm like, I don't even care about the old property manager. I just care about, they were looking through papers long before I even went in there. And the lady's like, well, yeah, I looked through the papers this morning. No, you didn't. You've been looking through the papers. Either you didn't see mine or you're lying. Something happened, because this lady and the lady from Chicago were looking through every paperwork in there. They were staying there for like a few hours looking through a whole bunch of paperwork, trying to get everything straightened out. And I don't know, but they're just a whole bunch of shade. And I ended up living with my aunt for like 2-3 weeks. And then we got this apartment. It's like $4.99 a month. Yeah, we do have to pay our own utilities and stuff like that. We have Wi-Fi here. I didn't have Wi-Fi before. I had to like rely on my phone and all that. I'm like, I'm just happy you're here because I got a 2-bedroom for $4.99 a month. And I'm not getting funded by the government to keep this place. I'm working almost full time. My boyfriend's basically working full time, what he's doing right now. We put our funds together and get stuff done. And right now he has his son here too. So we're trying to take care of him. And we got a cat that we're taking care of. So we got things going on. So anyway, I don't remember the right terms and stuff. I don't remember what this program called. It's a state program, but I just don't remember what it's called. If you can tell me what it is, or at least help me figure that one out. My aunt did have a number to call the guy in charge of this. I decided not to, but my aunt said, well, we could have sued them and whatever because of the verbal abuse towards me and my mom. So I'm just going to end it there. It's already 16 minutes through the video. But anyway, I hope you have a great night. Bye.